Okay, we'll just wait a few minutes before going into the discussion. Okay. Okay, getting the Chad Gall's in here. Hey, Chad, how's it going? Figured I'd wait a couple minutes before we started. Looks like there's a few people in here. If you're in here, you probably know me. You maybe used to read my stuff. If you're new here, I'm Adam Biggers, and I covered Michigan for a while for multiple outlets, and now I'm freelancing for Saturday Tradition this year, so I'm excited about that. Um, I was actually kind of on the fence about it just because it's going to be limited access. I'm not going to be full time role. It's not going to be live, eat, and breathe Michigan football every single day. To tell you the truth, I'm bringing Eric Rutter in today, and Eric, a friend of mine, very good writer. He's uh, worked his ass off, so go read his stuff. Eric, I really like Eric's work. He's going to come in the live chat and talk to us about the offensive line, give us some details. I think we're all pretty clear on what the starting five is going to look like, but maybe get into the two deep a little bit. I saw that Ben Mason, his position is now as a tight end. Trying to think of some other stuff that we're going to talk about. Andrew Vastardis, I really like Vastardis. I'm going to talk about him a little bit too, and then I'm going to promote the hell out of this column that I wrote on the Michigan quarterback situation. I'm not going to read it to you, but if you've read it, great. If you haven't, it's on my Twitter. You can follow me at AdamBiggers81, or I just dropped the link in here. And this is, I'm going to also put the link to Eric's piece on the offensive line. And he makes good points too. And he alluding to this, and I think this is something that I want to address probably in the next piece that I do too. Yeah, this offensive line's young, right? I mean, Hayes and Mayfield on at the tackle spots have some experience, but interior offensive line not a ton of experience. But you got to understand that, and Eric points this out in his piece, that they're replacing four NFL players. On top of that, and I think Eric probably, I don't know if he, I skimmed through that last little piece. I'm sorry, Eric. Either way, think of who are these guys are going against in practice, and he mentions it with Kyle Kemp and Andrew Vastardis. And I mean, but think about it, who else is in that mix too. They're going up against Quiddy, they're going up against Aiden, um, Luigi. It's that cliche, I guess. I don't like it. I hate it. It's so redundant and just kind of just overplay the iron sharpens iron thing, but it is what it is, right? They're good. They're going up against. I mean, the defensive line has been Michigan's backbone for, what, the past 8 years, pretty much, all the way back to Greg Madison. He kind of re-solidified Michigan having a dominant defensive line. Ever since then, uh, throughout the Harbaugh era, Michigan's defensive line has been superb. So that's where I'm kind of coming from on that. Well, these guys got to practice against them every day. So yeah, they might be young, they might be inexperienced, but they've been going against arguably, a 5 national defensive line their entire time they've been at Michigan. So Eric Rutter says, appreciate that, Chad. Yeah, so now that we have Eric here, Eric's eating dinner and doing some work for SI, so I don't want to take up too much of his time. Eric, if you could, drop the starting 5, and then also let us know who you think's going to be in the mix on the 2 deep. I'm assuming Rumler's got to be in there. There's a couple other guys. So kind of want to just get your thoughts on that. Honing Ford, I think, I can't remember everybody's name right now, but I'm looking at your column on Sports Illustrated, and I want to read this quote from Carlo Kemp about Andrew Vastardis. So Eric leads in, writing, but according to Kemp, it is no surprise that Vastardis has worked to assume a starting position on this year's Michigan squad because he gets to see the senior work on a daily basis. Even without being the loudest or most vocal player in the locker room, Vastardis' work ethic speaks for itself. The biggest thing about Andrew is he is one of the hardest workers on and off the field, and especially on the field, Kemp said. Whatever happens during a play, he's going to make sure he finishes to the best of his ability to the whistle, and that's not an understatement because it's every play consistently, no matter what. We like to think of Andrew as a Mack truck. He just drives his Mack truck to work every single day and just kind of pours his concrete, and that's kind of the guy Andrew is. Being that center position, you've got to lead the rest of those O-linemen, and he's done a tremendous job getting the rest of those guys fired up every single day to go out there and practice and work on the things that we want to accomplish this season. So, I mean, that's really high praise from Carlo Kemp. He's by far one of the most talented, one of Michigan's biggest strengths on the defensive line. And for him to say something like that about Andrew Vastardis speaks volumes. And if you follow Michigan football closely, you've heard Andrew's name kind of in the conversation. He's always been, I believe he's always kind of been a firm number 2, and you got to consider who he was playing behind. And for a guy to be mentioned, because I think this is his 5th year now. He's a graduate student, but redshirt your freshman year, and then he was getting mentioned ever since his sophomore year, his redshirt freshman year. So we've heard the name Andrew Vastardis for the past 4 years, and he's played a little bit. I have his bio up, but he played in 5 games last year. He played in 6 games as a junior. He was played 2 games as a sophomore. So I'm going to get to Eric's chat. Eric says, from left to right, it sounds like Hayes, Filiaga, Vastardis, Stuber, Mayfield. Stuber's another one that we've heard a lot about. Now, Filiaga and Stuber could be substituted, but I remember when Stuber gave media availability recently, he said he was to Vastardis' right, so that's why I have him penciled in at right guard. Makes sense. Eric says, but like Adam said, Rumler has received praise. Carpenter's also probably the backup center for right now. Honingford could contribute if he has to, if he's pushed into playing time. And last but not least, Harbaugh said that he considers Carson Barnhart on the starter level as far as tackles are concerned. Darkman1212 says, I missed your videos, buddy. Hey, Darkman, how's it going? I appreciate it. Michigan fan says, hey, how's it going, my guy? Michigan fan, what's up? Chad says he likes all your stuff on SI. Eric, yeah, you guys check out Eric. I've known Eric for a long time. We've gone on some trips together. We've had a couple beers together, and we've talked a ton of football. And if you want someone who's detail-oriented and I'm talking down to the last, Eric is definitely one of those type of guys. So give his stuff a read. He does a great job. He's an ascending reporter. Put it that way. Brad G says, why do you think we never got a formal announcement from Nico? I think even Gas expected him to make an announcement one way or another. And that's probably a better question for Eric. Right now, I mean, I still know my stuff, but it's been, kind of a little bit of a break. It's almost kind of a refresher course for me. I'm going to let Eric do all the. I think that it is kind of strange from Nico. I don't know. I guess a formal announcement would be nice, like even fans' sake or whatever. Hey, thanks coaches, thanks Coach Gaddis, thanks Coach Harbaugh. Go down the list. I learned a lot. What they all say, because it's all true. Hey, I learned a lot. thank you for your time. I never saw that from Nico, so that is kind of weird. And as a fan, I imagine it's got to be tough to see Nico go because it's like, and just as a fan of college football in general, and I just like to see guys become big time players. See them from the onset and see them develop. Nico Collins was by far and away one of my favorite Michigan players on offense. Just because, I mean, with that size and his ability, I mean, it's like you just knew that this guy, he's a highlight, and you felt bad for defensive backs. You get a 5'11", he was probably 5'9" and a half. Add a little bit on 5'10" defensive back. Against 6'4", what was Nico, 6'4", 235. I mean, it's no contest. Huge hands, just a huge catch radius, one of those big time downfield targets. And you got to imagine too, what if the quarterback situation? And I want to talk about that. That's the column I wrote. What if the quarterback situation was a little bit more stable, and Michigan actually had a reliable star quarterback, which it really hasn't since 2007. I remain steadfast, and there's no countering this. The best quarterback so far of the Jim Harbaugh era has been Wilton Speight until further notice. They were this close to playoff literally that close, right? To playoff contention in 2016. That was Harbaugh's second year, which is a point that I go to a lot when people will say, "Oh, well, Jim Harbaugh isn't." Are you forgetting that second year they were a playoff team? Michigan was no doubt in 2016 one of the best top 6, 8 teams in the country. I firmly believe that. Taking a little Taco Bell break. Eric says Nico hasn't been enrolled all semester long. September 23rd, 100% money. Great point by Eric there. He says the reason why we probably didn't hear anything formally from Nico is he hasn't been enrolled all semester, and when the September 23rd deadline to get 100% money back tuition wise and October 4th to get 50%, and there was still no announcement, that said it all. Brian R. says, Adam, are you pretty pumped? Your boy Chris Evans will be back. Do you see him more of a inside? I want to see Chris Evans and Josh Gaddis' offense so bad. That's one player I'm really been waiting for. I've been big on Chris Evans ever since he came to Michigan, and I think I told you guys the story. I went to high school for a year in Indianapolis at Broad Ripple, and one of my favorite teachers, Mr. Akers. Every time I go to Indianapolis, I always see him, and he would keep me up to date on like who's coming out of Indy, sports wise. Hey, this kid Gary Harris is Michigan State. He was telling me about Gary Harris before anybody up here was talking about Gary Harris. And so he was telling me about Chris Evans. Hey, this kid out of Ben Davis, and Ben Davis is a really good has a really good football program, and it always has. I think they were good when I was there. And this was late '90s when I lived in Indy, and so he was telling me about Chris Evans. I think Chris was like in 8th grade at the time or 9th grade. I mean, he was super young, and he's like, hey, there's this kid coming up, and this was before the Michigan offer. He'd already told me about Chris. And then I think I told him, hey, Michigan offered, this is the same Chris Evans kid, right? And yeah, Chris Evans to me is the most, when Chris Evans is like top level Chris Evans or where we think that he can be, he'll be Michigan's most exciting player on offense. Yeah, and I would love to see him slot roll, split backfield. They want to run those little, that little screen bubble. That's Chris Evans all day. So, did anybody have any questions? We don't want to keep Eric. I know he's trying to eat dinner, and I'm sitting here eating in front of him. Eric, if you guys scroll up in the comments, Eric laid out the starting offensive line, which I think a lot of us knew that, but the 2 deep, you mentioned some names that you want to pay attention to in that. Cameron Clark says, what's up, Adam? Hey, Cam. See you in chat chicken quesadilla, and drinking some Gatorade, talking some Michigan football. So Charles Thomas, yes, Charles Thomas announcing his. And I used to talk to Charles all the time when he was a recruit, and we actually messaged today. I know he got an offer from Charlotte, and that's about it. But I was excited to see him play. I thought he was going to be ideal, potentially a Viper position for Don Brown, and just never happened. So, I think he was injured for a short time. He didn't tell me that, but I think I remember hearing that. So you wish him the best. But I mean, Michigan position group wise, I think you have to be really excited about the running backs. D line's going to be good. Running backs and linebackers, to me, I think are going to be the two most interesting positions to watch. Just because there's so much, especially the running backs. There's so much talent back there. It's ridiculous. So I want to talk about this column real quick that I wrote, and again, the link is up above. I'll drop it in one more time just for the hell of it. And it's basically Joe Milton needs to be the guy. Michigan has not had a homegrown star quarterback since Jim Harbaugh got there. Spate was a hope guy. And then he became the closest thing to a Harbaugh quarterback because he spent 3 years with Harbaugh. So everybody else, I mean, he had to bring in Shea Patterson. John O'Corn was a transfer. And at first, when Jake Rudock was transferred, that made sense. Okay, and Jake Rudock to me was like that's the best bridge that you're going to get. I mean, I can't think of another guy in that situation. First year coach, Jake Rudock, just super steady, good playmaker, nothing too flashy. He didn't have like the rocket arm that some of these other guys have, but he had a nice touch on the ball, and he had some pretty good receivers, Amara Darboh and Jay Uchasa. That was a fun offense to watch. Jake Rudock was the ideal bridge. But when is it going to get to a point where you don't need that anymore? To bring in a transfer and he wins a starting job. What does that say about your development? And we've talked about this. And I mean, Dylan McCaffrey, he transfers. Brandon Peters transfers. Those were two guys that were supposed to, be stars. A lot of people thought. I thought that Brandon Peters probably had a better shot over Dylan McCaffrey because I just remember that Notre Dame game and just worried. Dylan to me just looked. He was a couple hits away from. I don't know. It's the way that it's the way some of those big hits. The way that he takes those big hits. It's it's a play like, man, you hope a guy's not injured, and that was always kind of my envisioning. That's kind of how I viewed Dylan McCaffrey. I just didn't think that he, could take that wear and tear. Tumato says, damn, I saw this late. Good to hear you back, Adam. Well, I appreciate you joining. You can watch the replay if you want. But basically, I'm just talking about this column. We're talking about Eric Rutter's offensive line report. Just because I like to quote Carlo Kemp said about Andrew Vastardis. I'm excited for Vastardis. He's a guy that's getting a shot. Graduate student. This is his 5th year there. He's getting a shot. So that's the cool part to see. Cameron Clark says, put up or shut up time for Gaddis. Eric Rutter says, we all remember how frequently Gaddis used running backs at Alabama, right? And how the play calling at Penn State was tailor-made to utilize Saquon Barkley's skills. Shades of that in Ann Arbor this season. And you start thinking about that and who's in that backfield. Charbonnet, Haskins, Turner, Evans. I mean, shit. Playmakers everywhere. I mean, I think Chris Evans is going to be the home run guy. I think. Zach Bass wants to know any chances of seeing Cade McNamara. I heard he was more accurate than Milton. Well, if history has taught us anything about Jim Harbaugh, when he names a starting quarterback, that's the starting quarterback. So barring the typical, hope knock on wood, no injury, but if Milton just ends up sucking it up, then just doesn't prove that he's the guy, then yeah, it's got to be Cade McNamara, right? Though I think that's the only chance that we would see a quarterback change because Jim Harbaugh rides with his starter. Michigan fan says, "I love Evans. He's going to get 1,000 yards this year." And Michigan's only had what a couple. Who was the last? It was Fitz Toussaint in 2011, and then didn't Davion his senior year? Didn't Davion Smith? I think he had like 1,036 yards or something like that. Now I'm curious because that's yeah the 1,000 yard bet, but also with 3, 4 guys in the rotation, how likely is it we're going to see 1,000 yard rusher? Because you know that those carries are going to get split up. I think what Michigan's averaging under Harbaugh somewhere around 2,400 rushing yards per season. I'd have to double check that. I think that was a stat like the last time I checked it, which was like a year ago. So Higdon, yeah, it was Karan Higdon, yeah, because Davion got close. I think Davion was at like 939 or something, yeah, and then Karan. Good call, Cam. I'm slipping, bro. I'm slipping. Go to Twitter, see if you have any questions on here. Sure in the hell don't. If you're not following me on Twitter, shame on you. You need to be. It's at Adam Biggers 81. Evans most exciting player, no way. Zach Charbonnet all day or Giles Jackson. Those are two good picks too. Giles can fly, man. That dude is. I don't know. I don't. Maybe Dennis Norfleet. I would like to see them race. Dennis Norfleet was fucking fast. I would like to see Norfleet versus Jackson foot race. Who remembers Dennis? It was weird. I was watching videos. His atomic dog. You guys remember the atomic dog return? And he was doing his frat dance. I'm not in the fraternity, so I'm not gonna mimic it because you don't do that. If you're not in it, you don't mimic it. Fraternity. It's a no-no. I had some friends that were in a fraternity, and they were like so secretive about the shit. I thought it was funny. But yeah, Dennis was fast. Cam Clark says Charbonnet got close last year. Probably would have had if he was 100% all year. What'd he end up with? I'm gonna look it up right now. He had 726 yards last year on only 149 attempts. So he averaged 4.9 per carry. That's pretty good. He had 11 touchdowns. His longest run was 41 yards. I could go through the game log and see how many times he had, how many 20 plus or 10 plus, but I'm not going to do that. Played well against Alabama, 13 carries for 84 yards. Charbonnet is definitely a guy who's been talked about, but I have to believe that it's going to be Chris Evans going to be the biggest playmaker at the running back position. Brad G like 700 yeah, 726 and 11. Let me make sure I check it. 11 touchdowns. Yeah, 11 touchdowns on 149 carries. So about every 15 carries, he was scoring. If you want to look at it that way. I just watched Moneyball a few hours ago, so I'm gonna get Billy Bean on. Peter Brand, Billy Bean. Cam Clark said there was like a 4-game stretch where he barely played. Yeah, let's look that up because I'm thinking it's. Looks like there's a couple stretch. Maybe I don't know if you're talking about the just final 4 games of the year because he had 8 carries, 7 carries, 8 carries, 4 carries, starting with Maryland and ending with Ohio State. He only had 2 carries against Wisconsin and 5 carries against Rutgers. We'll look at it. Okay, well, let's say this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5 games with at least 13 carries, or even at least 10. 13 is the lowest. Then he had the 33 carries against Army for 100 yards, and that was a shit show of a game. Michigan should have lost that, honestly. He had 2 carries for 6 yards against Wisconsin, 5 for 22 against Rutgers. He lit up Illinois pretty good. 18 carries for 116 yards. He only had 200-yard games last year, believe it or not. 116 and 100. He had 90 against Middle Tennessee State. So yeah, I mean, with more usage, I don't think it's out of the stats are certainly there. You put him up in that 250 carry range, 225 carry range, and he's probably a 1,000-yard rusher. So that's why I like you guys. You're smart. Good point, Cam. Good point. How much is it Tumoto? How do I say this? Tumoto? I think I've asked you this before. Tomoto. How much different do you think this team will look since they seem to have purged all the bad apples that Ambry Thomas called out after the bowl game? Ooh, I must have missed that comment. Well, I mean, obvious it's going to look different on the offensive line, but I mean, it's the same coaches, same philosophy. I mean, we're going to see the same type of Michigan football. We're going to still see a Don Brown defense that's going to be, top 5, top 10 statistically and everything. I mean, that's been kind of the MO of Michigan's defense, even when Greg Madison was the coordinator. So, I mean, I think we're just going to see now the only difference is going to be what's the only next level thing. I mean, we've seen Michigan's run game improve. We've seen, we just mentioned Karan Higdon. We're talking about Zach Charbonnet. We're talking about the potential of Chris Evans. Davion Smith was really fun to watch. So, I mean, they've had really good running backs. But now, and I kind of make the point that it's missing the star quarterback. Michigan's got to have the star quarterback. Otherwise, it's going to be more 9-4, 10-3, losing a bowl game or going to, Orlando every year for the same, just slot Michigan in for the Outback Bowl every fucking year, or whatever bowl it's going to be, the Citrus Bowl or some bowl that does not matter. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. They're all cool games. They're all fun. They matter to the teams involved. But, I mean, it's to the point. This is Harbaugh's 6th year. If we're not talking Rose Bowls and college football playoffs and Big Ten championships, that's got it in star quarterbacks. And I've said this before, and I saw a quote from Kirk Herbstreit who basically said the same thing. There's nobody who's going to be a better coach and put more time and care than Jim Harbaugh. So if he can't do it, then I don't know if it can be done, and I don't know why. There's not a good explanation, but it's not that I don't think it's an issue if he can't do it, because he almost did it in year 2. I mean, Michigan was a legit college football playoff contender in 2016. Nobody wanted to play those guys. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. You put Michigan in a playoff atmosphere, that 2016 team. Nobody wanted to play them. That was an exciting team, super talented everywhere. They were a problem, and it's the almost team. That's going to be one of the all-time almost teams at Michigan. And if you got a list of other almost teams in college football, then you might as well put the 2016 Wolverines on that list. And this light keeps. I don't know. I just changed the light bulb. I don't know if I tightened it all the way. But yeah, that 2016 team is definitely going to be... All right, now it's pissing me off. All right. There we go. Okay, no more technical. JT was short. Cam Clark says MVP for Michigan on offense this year, Ronnie Bell or Chris Evans. And I like Ronnie Bell a lot too. I've been talking about him since his freshman year. Ronnie Bell's awesome. Dax Hill, I think he. Yes, I agree. Dax Hill will be a stud. I've been told he's their best all around athlete on the defense, and I think that was reported too, but that's just kind of been the buzz, and we've been kind of hearing it since like last year. Even when he got there, people were like, "Man, this kid's a freak." So, all right. Oh, hey Eric, I appreciate it again. Go check out follow Eric on Twitter at Eric Rutter WD. Check out his work on SI, Wolverine Digest. I believe it's what it's called. I just see SI and I'm like, that boy made it. Good job, Eric. Jeremy Turner says, Big, what's good, man? Hey, Jeremy, thanks for coming through. Zach Bass, safety and corner rotate. Oh, we're getting into all the stuff I was going to say for later in the week. Did everybody get a chance to read the column? I am writing for Saturday Tradition, SaturdayTradition.com. You can follow them on Twitter at Tradition. I always put Saturday Tradition in and then realize that it's just at Tradition. I'm like, why isn't this linked to the account? Because there is no at Saturday Tradition. Okay, here is. Make sure you guys read this, or I'll be pissed. Dale Dilbeck says, column was phenomenal. I appreciate it, Dale. Thank you. Who do you think Michigan State's quarterback will be? Rocky Lombardi. I don't want to talk about that right now, Cameron. You're hitting a sore spot, dude. I know what you're trying to do, okay? We're here to talk about Michigan. And Michigan only. I want to just close my eyes and dream myself through the Mel Tucker era at Michigan State. Like, please, somebody just bonk me over the fucking head, and I will just wake me up in 3 years when he's fired. And I know it's kind of a crappy thing to say, and I just don't. I think things are going to be. I think there's going to be a down period. You don't just come from arguably the greatest era. I mean, Michigan State's had some eras, right? Duffy Doherty, George Perlis era was pretty good. Mark D'Antonio era. You don't just come out, and the way that it ended, I just can't. And it's not even necessarily anything against Mel Tucker. It's just anybody coming in after that. I don't see. I mean, it took what 20 years. I mean, even Nick Saban, 95 to 99 at Michigan State. That was a tease. People are, oh, Michigan State football is going to be for real. And he leaves. And it's just, you don't follow the Mark D'Antonio era. I mean, compare, in not direct compare, but I mean, it's just been a successful coach. I mean, look at the Tigers after Jim Leland. Rebuild. That's what it's going to be. I mean, that was the prime. That was a golden era of Tigers baseball. And so, I mean, this was a golden era of Michigan State football. And, good luck to Mel Tucker. It's good luck to Courtney Hawkins. I met Courtney a couple times. He's from Flint. He went to Beecher. He was the AD there when I was at the Flint Journal. He was always really cool to me. And he was one of my favorite players as a kid. He played at Michigan State. He played like 10 years in the NFL. He was a second-round draft pick. He's a wide receivers coach out there. So, but yeah, Michigan State football definitely a sore topic because it's going to get worse before it gets better, I think. And I just don't see, Mel Tucker being a long-term solution. CJ Mike 1024 says, I think people are really sleeping on Giles. Is it Giles or Giles? It's Giles, right? Because I coached a kid this summer. His dad's name is Guy. It's spelled the same, but he pronounces it Giles. So I think people are really sleeping on Giles. Giles, whatever. Dude is electric with the ball in his hands. We get him involved more in the receiving game, and he will be our most explosive player on offense. He can fly. The dude's got wheels. CJ Mike says, give Mel a chance. I think he will surprise a lot of people. Remember what people thought when Herm Edwards was hired. You just want to see Michigan kick the crap out of him for a few years. I know your game. I want to believe that Mel Tucker will have success. You know, I mean, you guys know I'm a Michigan State fan, so when I'm not being objective and looking at sports, you know, from a journalist standpoint or, you know, just a sane standpoint, yeah, I might be watching a Michigan State football game and swearing at the TV, maybe. I mean, I'm entitled to do that. I don't cover them, so it doesn't matter. But I don't know. I didn't like the way he left Colorado either. You know, there was some kind of shady terms, lying to a lot of, not just like one or two. I mean, what, weren't there like 6 or 7 recruits and then a bunch of other players? He just like bull-faced lied to him, said, I'm not leaving. Next day, fuck you guys, I'm going to East Lansing. You know, I don't like that. Cameron Clark says, I think he's Willie Taggart 2.0, having to replace Jimbo. Pretty similar situation. Herm was a veteran head coach, though, and he plays in the worthless Pac-12. Brad G, they doubled the offer. Yeah, what's he getting at? He's getting like 5.5 at Michigan State, or is it 6.5? He's one of the highest paid coaches in college football. That is what blows my mind. Jimmy G wants to know, is the current wide receiver core significantly faster than the big blue chip recruits that just left? Wouldn't be that the only way to take advantages of Milton's arm strength? I don't know. I'd have to do like a side-by-side comparison. I mean, Bell's pretty fast. I mean, Bell's he's not like a blazer. Jackson's that guy. I want to say Eric All's kind of quick at tight end. You know, I mean, he's not super fast, but he's probably one of Michigan's quicker tight ends. And that's not obviously a position that you see a ton of speed at. I don't know what it is about Taco Bell chicken quesadillas, but these things are good. All right, guys, it's getting a little bit past my bedtime here. Any other questions? Okay, well, I appreciate you guys' time. I want to thank Eric Rutter again for joining the chat. Go check out Eric's stuff. I've known him for a long time, and I don't know. I don't want to say that I don't think everybody else works hard, because I know people who work hard in media, but Eric works hard. He always has. Brian R says good, but they need to drop the price. Yeah, and there's not a ton of chicken in it. I need to get 2 to even get by. Jeremy Turner says, thanks, Adam. Looking forward to the content this year. I appreciate it, Jeremy. And again, guys, like they're not handing out season credentials. It's going to be like game by game basis. The major outlets are going to get in there, obviously, but the player access, it's not. You know, it's going to be a 2020, but at least there's a season. So I'm not going to have stuff every single day, and I'm going to do my best to do what I used to do, but it's going to be more columns, and hopefully, I don't think I'm not in that circuit of where I'm talking to people that maybe players or whoever, getting all this inside information. Former pastor. So anybody who's A, saying that they're doing that is probably lying, or B, they're really just breaking rules. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I've had some guys, but you don't ever out them, and it's I didn't initiate it, so it's okay. Anyway, a little tidbit about me. All I gotta say is, why do you think that I had every fucking detail about the 2016 quarterback situation. Every detail. There was nobody who was on top of Michigan's quarterback situation in 2016 than me. And there was a reason for that. Because I had a very consistently reliable birdie. It'll be a cold night in Minnesota Saturday. Hell yeah, it's going to be cold. I'm excited for the Michigan State Halloween kickoff at noon. It'll be probably cooler at night, but whatever. And with the way 2020's gone, I really don't give a shit. I only want to see a few games. I want to see Michigan State. I want to see Michigan, Ohio State. You know, there's some SEC matchups. I'm almost, not that I'm over it and didn't want them to play, but, you know, you get jerked around on it so much and it didn't start when we thought it was going to start, and then they weren't going to play, and then, okay, now it's going to be a shortened season. I'm almost like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's play a few weeks, see the good games, go right to the college football playoff, and then just return to normal next fall. So, check out, will Michigan win Saturday? Ooh. I mean, simple answer, yes, I think. They have to. For way more reasons than it's the first game. It's a conference road. I mean, there's a lot riding on this, I think. So, any final questions, guys? I feel bad I don't want to go, but been on since 7:30. Great conversation as always. I appreciate everybody watching. Again, go follow Tradition, Saturday Tradition on Twitter, @Tradition, SaturdayTradition.com. Follow me on Twitter, @AdamBiggers81. Say last Friday was October 9th, was my dog Izzo's 10th birthday, and he's laying on the couch like a good boy. It's weird. Anybody have dogs for a long time? Dakota's 9, his sister. I feel like a decade. That's a long time. It's longer than like any relationship I've ever had. And it's cool. Like if you can keep a dog alive for 10 years, and I think that's a good accomplishment. Dre408 said, "Man, I missed the show. I appreciate it, Dre." Chad Gall says Jim has a terrible run. I know. At night, I know. That's just one of the many facets to it. New starting quarterback on the road. Bad road record at night. You know? Big games on the road too. I mean, if they don't lose at Iowa, they can still make, in 2016, I think they still make the playoffs with that Ohio State loss. The loss to Ohio State didn't cost them the playoffs. The loss to Iowa cost them the playoffs. What time next time? I don't know. What time works good for you guys? Jeremy Turner said, "Had my dog for 5 years. Wouldn't know what to do without him." Man, you're preaching to the choir, bro. And it's weird because I've always had dogs. I always loved dogs, but it's like after that certain amount of time, it's, you know, and they're never just a dog, you know, or just a pet. But after certain, like, damn, 10 years. Like, this motherfucker has been with me for 10 years. That's a long time. Anytime after 5 works for Cam. Tumoto says, "I think Matt Campbell would be a good choice if Harbaugh gets canned. He should go to East Lansing after Mel Tucker gets canned." I know Matt Campbell's been a name that's been brought up a couple times. Kay Bagley says, "What do you think this year's defense? Will Don Brown change up the blitz scheme?" I think it's going to be same style that we've seen. Obviously, I think the only soft spot, sometimes a secondary tendency last year, I think had a tendency to get burned a little bit. We could talk about that more in the next one. But yeah, you guys just let me know. If you can, just on Twitter, because after I get out of this, I can't read the comments. But just let me know on Twitter what time works. It'll probably be, this, evening mostly. So I'm in Michigan, Eastern time zone, so 7:30 kind of works out well for me. Maybe I'll do them on Monday nights because I will be in the Zoom. I'm back on the Michigan football email list thanks to Dave, the super SID at the University of Michigan, Dave Abloff. and Chad Shepard. Awesome guys. So I'm back on the email list, so I will be able to participate in the Zoom player availabilities and press conference, but it just depends on my schedule too, because Mondays are at noon, and typically I'm not going to be available Monday noon. So preferably 7-ish, Jeremy says. Okay, well yeah, I think probably kind of any time after dinner time, right? But it's always dinner time somewhere, even after it's dinner time. All right, guys, thanks a lot. It was fun. We'll talk soon. October 24th. There's actually college football, which is a great thing. So I might do one maybe Thursday. I'll have another piece, I think, Thursday and Saturday tradition, and then maybe I'll do a reaction video Saturday night. So, which might be kind of fun because I think I'm gonna be at my friend Libby's house on Saturday, and she's fucking crazy. When it comes, she is crazy. If you want to see, and it's not like she's one of those girls who said that she likes football just because. She gets into this shit. So I'm gonna out her right now. I don't know if she's watching. She has a picture of Saquon Barkley next to her bed. She's a huge New York Giants fan, huge Michigan fan. So probably have some drinks over there and see if I can get her to hop on the live stream and just vent her frustrations. She's very vocal and graphic. So it's always a fun time. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Definitely do this again this week. So plan on probably something after the Michigan game Saturday and maybe something Thursday. So have a good night. Talk to you next time.